The scream didn't come from inside the small house where they were praying. It came from 2 compounds away. A long, sharp, animal-like scream that sliced through the quiet village morning like a blade. Inside, the prayer warrior, Brother Choku, didn't even flinch. He simply placed a firm hand on the forehead of the dying young woman, Amina, and shouted louder, "Any evil, I command you to expose yourself now." Outside, the gathering crowd gasped and turned as one. There she was. Madame Efua. She burst from her own house, staggering into the dusty street, clutching her stomach as if a knife was twisting inside her. Her wrapper was loose, her hair wild. "I will confess," she screamed, her voice raw and terrifying. "I will tell everything." She fell to her knees, then rolled in the red earth, howling in pain. The villagers watched, frozen in shock. What was happening to Madame Efua? And what did this have to do with Amina, who was lying near death in her mother's house just a few steps away? Hi guys, welcome to Echoes of the Baobab Tree. Kindly support the channel by giving the video a like, subscribe and share it to your loved ones. Let's continue the story. To understand the scream, we must go back 2 months. To December in the village of Nkwo, in the heart of Enugu State, Nigeria. The air was filled with the smell of frying akara and the sound of Christmas songs. This was when Amina, the village's shining star, always came home. Amina was a success story. At 26, she lived in Abuja, working as a software developer. She drove a good car, wore nice clothes, and always came home with bags full of gifts. Her mother, Mama Ngozi, was a proud but simple farmer. Their joy was their reunion. As Amina's car arrived, children ran beside it, shouting, "Amina! Auntie Amina!" Mama Ngozi rushed out, her face glowing with a love that only a mother has. Their hug was long and tight, speaking of months of missed conversations. For the next 3 days, Amina's compound was like a festival. She gave out wrapped presents, bags of rice, and envelopes of money to the elderly. Widows blessed her, young girls admired her, and the village sang her praises. "God will continue to bless you, my daughter," they chorused. But in the middle of the dancing crowd, one woman's smile was as stiff as dried wood. This was Madame Efua. She clapped and swayed to the music, but her eyes, sharp like a hawk's, followed Amina's every move. Inside, her heart boiled with a bitter poison. Envy. Her own daughter, Chidra, was the same age as Amina. They had grown up together. Yet, Chidra was struggling in Lagos, hopping from one low-paying office job to another, barely able to afford her rent. Seeing Amina's success, and seeing Mama Ngozi's proud smile, made Madame Efua's old wounds burn. Later that evening, Madame Efua approached Amina. She put on her sweetest voice. "My dear daughter, you have done so well. You make us all proud." Amina smiled politely. "Thank you, Auntie. How is Chidra?" "I didn't see her this Christmas," Amina asked kindly. Madame Efua sighed a heavy, dramatic sigh. "Oh, my daughter. Transport money. Things are hard, oh." She washed Amina's face carefully. Amina's kind heart immediately reacted. "Oh no. Please, give me her number. I'll send her something so she can come home. She shouldn't miss the festivities." Madame Efua's eyes glittered for a second. Then she said, "God bless you, my child. But before that, you must come to my house tomorrow. I will cook a special meal for you. A special Christmas pepper soup, just for you. To thank you for your good heart." Amina, feeling happy to help, agreed easily. "Of course, Auntie. I will come." She did not see the cold, satisfied look that passed over Madame Efua's face as she walked away. The next evening, as the sun began to set, painting the sky orange, Amina picked up her handbag. "Mama, I'm going to Auntie Efua's house. She invited me for food." Mama Ngozi, who was peeling yams, stopped immediately. Her happy mood vanished. "My daughter, sit down," she said, her voice suddenly serious. Amina laughed. "Mama, it's not a journey. It's just next door." Her mother stood up, wiping her hands. "Amina, listen to me. This village is not Abuja. Not every smile is true. Not every plate of food is safe." Amina sighed, thinking her mother was being old-fashioned. "Mama, it's just pepper soup. What can it do?" Mama Ngozi grabbed her daughter's hands, her eyes filled with worry. "My child, if you must go, let her pack the food for you to bring here. Or, at the very least, pray over it before you eat. Pray with your whole heart." Amina hugged her mother, dismissing her fears. "Nothing will happen. I'll be back soon." Madame Efua's house was unusually neat and smelled of delicious spices. She welcomed Amina like a queen. "You came. My beautiful daughter, sit, sit." She made Amina sit in the best chair and began telling long stories about her family history, showing old photos, making Amina feel special and comfortable. Too comfortable. Then, she brought out the food. A large bowl of steaming, dark pepper soup with a big, juicy piece of fish. The smell was irresistible. "This is my special recipe," Madame Efua said softly, her voice like honey. "Eat, my child. It is my gift to you." Amina, having forgotten her mother's warning, smiled gratefully. She did not pray. She picked up her spoon and began to eat. It was the most delicious pepper soup she had ever tasted. Just as Amina was halfway through her meal, the gate opened. It was Chidra, Madame Efua's daughter, looking tired from her trip. "Amina, you are here," Chidra said happily, heading for the pot. "This soup smells wonderful. Let me join you." Madame Efua moved like lightning. She stepped between Chidra and the pot, her sweet voice gone. "Chidra, have you lost your senses? Is this how you greet a visitor? Go inside and wash. I will bring your own food." Chidra looked shocked and embarrassed. She mumbled an apology and went inside. Amina felt awkward but was too busy enjoying the soup to think deeply about it. Madame Efua returned to her sweet self. "Sorry, my dear. These children have no manners." Amina just nodded, finishing the last drop of the soup. A week later, Amina was back in her apartment in Abuja. Life returned to normal: work, friends, and city noise. The memory of the village and the delicious soup faded away. Then, on a Friday night, a strange pain hit her. It started as a small cramp in her stomach during a dinner with friends. She ignored it. But the pain didn't leave. It grew. Days later, she was sweating in her bed, clutching her stomach. Her friend and roommate, Zainab, rushed her to the hospital. The doctors ran tests, scanned her body, and found nothing. "All your results are normal," the doctor said, confused. They gave her painkillers and sent her home. The pain became a monster living inside Amina. It would attack suddenly, making her scream and collapse. She went to different hospitals, Abuja, Lagos, even a private clinic in Ghana. The answer was always the same: there is nothing wrong with you. But Amina was fading away. Her stomach swelled up. She lost her job because she couldn't walk. Her savings disappeared on hospital bills. Zainab watched, helpless and heartbroken, as her strong friend became a weak, crying shadow. Mama Ngozi, far away in the village, began to have terrible dreams. Every night, she saw Amina walking down a long, dark road, not looking back, not answering her calls. She would wake up screaming, her heart pounding with a mother's fear. She called Amina, but Amina always lied. "I'm fine, Mama. Just a small stress." One terrible afternoon, Amina's body gave up. She convulsed violently and then fell completely still. Zainab screamed her name, but Amina was unconscious, her breathing shallow. In a panic, Zainab didn't call an ambulance. She remembered the village. She remembered Momangozi's worried voice. She wrapped Amina in a blanket, carried her to the car, and shouted to the driver, "Drive to Nko village. Fast. Her life depends on it." As the car sped through the night, Amina's life hung by the thinnest thread. Back in the village, Momangozi, jolted awake from another horrible dream, felt a terrifying certainty. Her daughter was in mortal danger. She ran out of her house barefoot, not knowing where to go, tears blurring her vision. She bumped into a man walking quietly by the road, a prayer warrior named Brother Choku. He caught her arm and said the words that turned her blood to ice, "Woman, if you don't fight now, you will bury your daughter today." Momangozi collapsed to her knees. What did he mean? How could she fight an enemy she couldn't see? And was it already too late? Inside Momangozi's small living room, the air was thick with prayer and panic. Amina lay on a mat on the floor, her body so still and pale she looked like a wax figure. Her swollen stomach rose and fell with weak, shallow breaths. Brother Choku, his voice hoarse from shouting, commanded the unseen evil to leave. Momangozi wept and prayed, her hands pressed against her daughter's cold face. Suddenly, the desperate screams from outside grew louder. Madame Efua was now at the very door, pounding on it, her confession pouring out for the whole village to hear. "I put it in the soup. I wanted her to suffer like I suffered," she wailed. Brother Choku turned his eyes from Amina to the closed door. He pointed a firm finger at it. "The poison is exposed. Now, let the harvest of that evil return fully to the one who planted it," he declared. At that very moment, Amina's body gave a violent jerk. A low, painful groan escaped her lips. Her eyes fluttered open, dazed and confused. "Mama," she whispered, the word barely audible. The village of Nko was in an uproar. News of Madame Efua's confession spread faster than bushfire. The crowd outside was no longer just shocked, they were angry. Women who had once danced with her now spat on the ground in her direction. Men shook their heads in disgust. This was a deep, unforgivable wickedness. Madame Efua, now completely broken, rocked back and forth in the dirt, clutching her bloated stomach. The pain that had tormented Amina was now clearly raging inside her. Her skin had taken on a sickly yellow hue. Zainab, Amina's faithful friend, stood with her phone still recording, her own tears drying as a cold understanding settled in. Justice was happening right before their eyes. For 3 days, Amina slept. It was not the unconscious sleep of before, but a deep, healing rest. Momangozi and Zainab took turns sitting by her mat, feeding her light broth and water. The terrifying swelling in her stomach began to reduce, slowly, like a deflating balloon. Color returned to her cheeks. Brother Choku visited every morning and evening to pray a simple prayer of thanksgiving and protection. "The enemy has been disgraced," he told Momangozi. "But your daughter's spirit needs to heal as well as her body." He advised them to keep their gate closed to curious visitors. The family needed peace. While Amina healed, Madame Efua's condition worsened. She was taken back to her own house, but no one wanted to nurse her. Only her daughter, Chidra, who rushed home from Lagos in shame, cared for her. Chidra cried as she bathed her mother, whose body was now racked with constant pain. "Why, Mama? Why did you do this?" Chidra sobbed. Madame Efua could only moan in reply. The once proud woman was reduced to a shell. The village turned its back on them. No one brought food. No one offered help. The weight of their isolation was heavier than the sickness. 2 weeks after the terrible day, Amina was able to sit in the sunshine outside her mother's door. She was thin and weak, but the light was back in her eyes. Zainab showed her the video of Madame Efua's confession. Amina watched it silently, a single tear tracing a path down her face. She felt not anger, but a profound sadness. So much hate from a bowl of soup, she whispered. Mama Ngozi sat beside her, holding her hand tightly. My child, you have seen the world now. The good and the very, very bad. Your kindness almost killed you. But God and your mother's prayers saved you. Amina leaned her head on her mother's shoulder, finally feeling safe. A month later, Amina was strong enough to travel. She, Mama Ngozi, and Zainab prepared to return to Abuja. Before leaving, Amina asked to see Chidra. They met at the village square, under the old okwe tree. The atmosphere was tense. Chidra approached with her head bowed. Amina, I have no words. My mother's sin is great. I live with the shame every day. She began to cry. Amina looked at her childhood friend. Chidra, I do not blame you. What your mother did was a choice. You are not her. Amina reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. This is for you. To help you start a small business, maybe in another city. Start anew. Chidra was stunned, refusing at first, but Amina insisted. It was an act of forgiveness that left the few watching villagers in awe. Life in Abuja resumed, but Amina was a changed woman. She was quieter, more thoughtful. She went back to work slowly, grateful for her health. Zainab became more than a friend, she was a sister forged in the fire of crisis. Amina also called her mother every single day without fail. She shared her story online, not for sympathy, but as a warning. Her post went viral, with thousands of people commenting about jealousy in their own families and communities. Amina's message was clear: be blessed, but be wise. Not everyone celebrates your light. Back in Ko village, Madam Efua's sickness dragged on for 2 long years. She became a ghost story mothers told their children, see what happens to those who harm the innocent. Her body was constantly swollen, and she could barely walk. The shame was her constant companion. One quiet morning, she passed away in her sleep. According to ancient village custom, those who died from the consequences of their own wickedness were not buried in the main cemetery. Her body was taken to the forbidden forest, a place of silence and shame. Only Chidra and a few paid laborers attended. There was no mourning, no celebration of life. It was a lonely, bitter end. A year after Madam Efua's death, Amina came back to Nko for Christmas again. This time, there were no huge celebrations. She came quietly, focusing on her mother and the truly needy. The village greeted her with a new, deeper respect mixed with a little fear. They had seen the power of a mother's love and the swift hand of justice. Mama Ngozi stood proudly by her daughter's side. During the church service on Christmas Day, the pastor called them forward. He preached about the dangers of envy and the power of forgiveness, using their story as a lesson for all. The congregation listened in total silence. On New Year's Eve, Amina and Mama Ngozi sat outside their house, looking at the stars. The air was cool and peaceful. Mama, Amina said softly, that time, it was the darkest period of my life. I thought I was going to die. Mama Ngozi patted her hand. But you lived, my daughter. And because you lived, you taught this whole village a lesson they will never forget. You taught them that light will always fight darkness. And you taught me that my prayers can move mountains. Amina smiled, a true, peaceful smile. She had lost many things, money, time, trust. But she had gained wisdom, a stronger bond with her mother, and a true friend in Zainab. She looked up at the countless stars twinkling above the village that had nearly been her grave, and now felt like her home. The story of the poisoner's soup was over, but the lesson would echo for generations: be careful of the plates you accept, for not every hand that feeds you is a friend. Thank you for watching.